incredibly high.
As we just saw, another gentle reminder for our viewers at home about that driver of the day. We run this every single race day through the course of the season, so we want to see your entries coming in. But an 8-lap race ahead for some of these drivers. Now, I'm looking at the entry list. It's a large entry list, and unfortunately, we've got about half of those entries. It looks like we've got one S-Class entry, which is going to be Jason Coetzee in the number 77. Well, it looks like we've got one in Class C, which is going to be Damien White in that number 29. Now, the thing is with the points as well, the class points gets awarded based on the number of starters in their class. So, it only goes down to 9 points if there's 2 starters. So, do they score points if they're the only drivers in their class?
That is a very good point, and we've had it as of last year. I mean, we had, for their final race of the year in Formula Libres, minus the fact that we did have the guys from the Super V class up in Joburg, and some more of the Vs from Joburg and up north come down to us. We had 28 open wheelers on the grid at the end of last year, but again, an early season, there are guys that are wanting to bring out older cars, ones that have been repaired. A very close family friend of mine, Ricky Anderson, who's out there racing. Currently, he qualified 3rd in the V class and sits 5th overall. His dad, Reg Anderson, a synonymous name, he's been racing since the 70s, and he has a GTI sitting in his garage that he hasn't sat in the driver's seat of that thing for 8 years, and now he's getting himself into shape. He's putting the pieces back together very slowly, but that's what it's about. It's not about rushing. It's not about getting himself back on the grid. He's got his son and his team to worry about, the Cape Town Cowboys, which is what they're called. Very, very formidable name in my personal opinion, and I say that because I am a part of the team. I have worked on some of the cars before. There are lots and lots of cars that will be coming to the grid throughout the year in all the classes, the likes of Class S. We are missing out a couple of the very, very top-end drivers, the likes of Byron Mitchell, that we've had in Class S, as well as Storm Lanfear, Cohen Bam, DJ Boyson, who had that monster crash in Blockcoin Corner through 2025 last year. We went nose up into the sky up against the barrier, but I'm sure he'll be back at some point in the near future. But again, first race of the season, gremlins when guys start repairing their cars before race weekend comes around. But regardless of all of that, we don't worry about that. We worry about the now. We stay in the present, and presently we have 10 Formula Libres sponsored by Bejo Trustees coming towards us.
Yeah, and that is just very quickly one other thing to note. The mix of cars that we've got here, a lot of these cars not having aero at the rear end, which makes them very, very tricky to drive at high speeds through these corners. So do not be surprised if we see one or two of these having a little sideways moment or having a little 360 and off into the litter. I get the feeling they'll be able to rejoin with no problems whatsoever. But a very lonely race at the front there for Jason Coetzee. He's going to have Damien White alongside him to keep him company here. But again, this is going to be an 8-lap dash. I'm nervously excited for this one, Jordan.
Even me. Anytime you see open wheels, and not like Formula One, everyone obviously compares that because it's the premier open wheel class. But you don't want to go side by side. You don't want to interlock wheels in this class. So they're all going to try and stay out each other's way, but the races are always, always close together. Richard Carr, who actually was driving that 49 last year, is given that over to Courtney, that being Courtney Steenveld, for his first race back in quite some time. He used to race nationals up in Joburg. But we get underway. Joshua Smith starts on pole in Class V. It will be Damien White in Class C and Jason Coetzee in Class S that leads them away as the lights go off and down towards Blockcoin Corner, turn number 1.
Yep, fantastic start for the 10 cars then, and predictably it's all very, very gentle going into that first corner. A little bit of side-by-side action there. That's Udrich Huysum and Ricky Anderson, 4th and 5th position, having a little bit of an early jostle, but nothing really too meaty in terms of the challenges going in just now, because again, with 8 laps to go, you don't want to go and bend any of the bodywork or any of the suspension. Very, very tough cars these are. But again, coming through 3 then, and predictably, Jason Coetzee just off and into a different zip code at this point in time.
Absolutely, and a little bit about Jason Coetzee. Not only is he a multiple SA karting champion, he actually won the Toyota Gazoo Racing GR Cup last year in the Extreme Festival Series. So he's also raced in the InvestChem 1600s before they changed to MSA4 rules and MSA4 cars. But we look ahead now to Class C and Class V. Damien White of Draken Racing sits there in the Swift, right at the front, or so in the Ray rather. And then it's Smith from Haysamen, just behind Ricky Anderson and Donovan Ramsey sit there in a 3rd and 4th positions, the 95 and the 96 just behind Nick van der Westhuizen. And you'll see, David, these 2 cars, the 96 of Ricky Anderson and the 771 of Nick van der Westhuizen, they are actually teammates. Pink and black colour scheme for the sister cars.
That's handy to know as we're watching the cars going through 1 then for lap number 2. And as we said, Jason Coetzee off in a different postcode, now 11 seconds clear of this group. So you'll forgive us for focusing pretty much all of our attention onto the likes of Damien White and Joshua Smith there side by side fighting out for P2 right now. Then you've got Udrich Huizamen in 4th position. There is 2nd and 3rd just now, so they're in their own little battle. Then you've got another battle of 5 cars there. That's Udrich Huizamen. You've got Ricky Anderson in that, Ben Jack Phillips and Nick van der Westhuizen in that 771 as well. So again, you've got these little groups that they're all breaking into right now.
Absolutely, and it will slowly spread up amongst themselves, and by the time you get to the end of the race, it will also open up amongst each of the groups. So you might have a 5-car battle now, but by the end of the race, you might have 1 or 2 guys racing each other. But so far, it's looking good. There is Damien White, the first and only Class C running Libre, currently just ahead of the Class Vs. And look at this. It is Joshua Smith in their GT Raps, number 83, and then ahead of Udrich Huizamen for Chile Racing. And then it's this gaggle of 5 that are a bunch of bees. In actual fact, the swarm is coming towards us.
The noise is absolutely fantastic as they pass under us here in the commentary box. But this is a 5-car battle then for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th position that we've got. You've got Huizamen, Phillips, Anderson, Steenfeldt and Van Westhuizen still all pushing as much as they possibly can. But again, it's like you said earlier on, it's about the momentum here as we cut back then to the long straight down towards Cape Town corner here. It's all about momentum. It's all about just keeping as much speed as you possibly can again for making sure you get the consistency points.
Absolutely, as we see Jason Coetzee currently running that number 77 out of the final corner. He runs his way down towards block point once again. That car on, as far as I believe, Pirelli Racing rubber on those beautiful OZ Racing wheels. There we see Damien White just behind, or I say just behind in the GTI Ray, as the first 2 Vs come into frame. Down towards the final corner they go. So that is Joshua Smith and Udrich Huizamen. But let's think about this. When we see in just a second from the far left, we see the rest of the field coming in. That's 5 cars that we know of, all the way from 5th down to 10th overall. Those 5 cars that you see in our frame are all fighting for 3rd overall in class. Yeah,
that's right. It's absolutely fantastic. So now, with the 2 separate groups, what I didn't realise is actually 3rd and 4th, Joshua Smith, because now as well, Damien White has broken away by 6 seconds over 3rd and 4th position here. So it's 3rd and 4th in a little battle then. It's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th position. So there is Damien White. Looking rather lonely, as I'd imagine also as Jason Coetzee.
Absolutely, as we look and see, I just got the hint of purple as he's just made his way by us now. Jason Coetzee, 1:12.347. As we see Damien White make his way by us into Sarl Sweep. Here is this battle between Joshua Smith and Udrich Huizamen. They make their way by us now, and it is nose to tail at this moment in time. Joshua Smith also had a hefty accident last year in Dam's Dip turn number 3. They managed to get that car back together and looking mighty neat, but Chile Racing hot on the heels, if you will, pun intended, down in towards Cape Town corner with the rest of the V's just behind.
Yep, into that Cape Town corner then, and you can see that it does look like almost, pace setting going on right now from Joshua Smith. He's really, really pushing that car as much as he can, but the problem with that is that he's got that number 44 just behind him of Idrich Huisamen, who is, that's a horrible position to be in for that car in front of Joshua Smith, because he sees in the mirrors there, as that was a big wobble on braking there. There's more action coming into turn one then. I think that's Ricky Anderson and the number 17 there of Ben Jack Phillips.
Absolutely, and I just witnessed it as you were speaking. I looked over to our screen and you could see that a major snap, as you were saying, they might get a little bit loose as we see Damien White coming through. However, that GTI Ray wings and slicks on that car. He didn't get to do any qualifying and practice with it yesterday, just a bunch of issues with the floorboard that he had to replace and whatnot. So this is quite literally the first time out on circuit was his test. As we see now coming towards us, this is Joshua Smith and Idrich Huisamen.
Yep, here they come then through the Sarel sweep as we've only got 3 laps left to go here. And again, look at how close they don't have any or that much aero on these cars here, but that makes it even more important to get into the slipstream of the car in front, which is exactly what Idrich Huisamen is doing here. But again, like we saw in previous races, I think they're going to wait their chance. I think they're going to wait until maybe, say, the last lap to pull out and go for it. But we go back to the leader then, who's now coming up to some lap traffic already. 1:12.292 from your race leader of Jason Coetzee, who is in a different postcode. He's in a different continent right now. Such is the pace. And again, coming up on some lap traffic.
Now, how's this? Here are the 2 other groups currently fighting for 5th and 6th as Jason Coetzee dissects those 2, that being Nick van der Westhuizen and Courtney Steenveld, as they all make their way down into Blockpoint corner. Now look at Ricky Anderson in that NW Logistics and Aruba, as well as GT Rap sponsored number 96, fighting with Ben Jack Phillips for that 5th spot overall and 3rd in class. So this is a hefty spot to be in before those 2 as they go down into Castro corner. There we jump back to the leaders, Joshua Smith and Idrich Huisamen, as they exit down through Dam's Dip corner with 1.5 laps to go. We wait for Jason Coetzee to cut through the rest of them and start another lap, and then we will be on our final lap.
Yep, so it's 2 laps left to go then. As we go through 4, we're on the run down towards Cape Town corner. We're still watching this fight here with Joshua Smith and Idrich Huisamen. Again, we'll keep an eye on some of the fights that are going on, but it does look like Nick van der Westhuizen has taken 7th position. We'll give you more information on that in a second. There is, though, second for just now. We've also got Jason Coetzee still into Cape Town corner. Still just, he's making this look so straightforward, cutting through this lap traffic. He's on a completely different pace to everyone else, and I think he's actually very closely going to be catching up to Idrich Huisamen.
Absolutely, and as he does that, they just ahead of him move on to their penultimate lap as Jason Coetzee starts his final lap, but Jason will end up passing them before the end of this lap, and that'll be it. So they will all fall a lap down behind your current S-Class and overall leader, Jason Coetzee. That's down into the background. You see them come in there. We just saw Damien White make his way by as we look through to the kink. That's the Landstem kink, for those that don't know. Down towards us they come, and Jason Coetzee goes up the inside of Huisamen, and he'll do the same procedure on Jason Smith in just a moment.
Now, have we lost Ricky Anderson? I see him falling down the timing screens there. Has he pulled into pit lane? Oh no, we've got yellow flag down at Cape Town corner then, so that is going to be, unfortunately, Ricky Anderson retiring from the race here. But checkered flag comes out, Jordan, and it looks like Jason Coetzee, an effortless breeze through the crowds here. But why don't you take us home?
So now we see is that waving yellow flag, and Ricky has just pulled off onto the circuit. I don't think he went off. I think he just had to pull that car off to the side of the track. I know they had an oil pressure issue yesterday, but it worked itself out. But Jason Coetzee makes his way out of turn 5A under the City of Cape Town Bridge and wins in Class S and in the Libre class for their first time today. Joshua Smith brings it home ahead of Idrich Huisamen right at the line. Then there's still a battle between these 2. The second sister car of NW Logistics, Aruba and GT Raps, as Ben Jack Phillips comfortably brings himself home in that 3rd spot. Van der Westhuizen beats out Courtney Steenveld on his first event back in quite some time for Steenveld. And then we'll have Donovan Ramsey making his way to the line in the 95 Liqui car to finish us off for the Bejo Trustees. Formula Libres.
So that is still one car that we're waiting for is Damien White right now, the 29, coming out of Saddle, sweep down the Killarney straight down towards Cape Town corner for the final time. And again, a bit of a lonely race for Damien. Still fantastic pace in that number 29 car, but he does come round the final corner, and he is going to go across the line to finish his race as well. So everybody is already back in the clubhouse at this point, and Damien's still just getting parked up. But there we go, checkered flag out for our final driver across the line. Just one retirement from the race. Unfortunately, we lost 2 laps ago, the number 96 of Ricky Anderson. But it is Jason Coetzee taking the win, Damien White in second position, and Joshua Smith in third. Welcome to 2026 for the Libres, Jordan.
Yep, and as we always like to say, Frankie and I say it at CHD Oval Racing, I say it at Short Circuit, we say it everywhere. It's not about the quantity of cars, it's about the quality, and V's showed us that quality even when they had the 2 other classes mixing between themselves. There's Joshua Smith and Yudhir Haysaman. There's Ricky Anderson on the inside, rather, of Ben Jack Phillips, as far as I'm aware. They come through. That actually might be the early laps because those look like the sister cars. So I wonder if we're going to be able to grab a replay of that final corner incident with Ricky Anderson. There's a little bit of bunching together. That was when that gaggle of 5 was still making their way through in the early laps. But like I said, that group quite quickly broke up after 3 or 4 laps, and they all split into their own little duos, fighting amongst themselves. So they'll just go through the replays. There wasn't anything major that happened during that, unfortunately, besides Ricky Anderson's off. But I've got a feeling, an unfortunate feeling, because I have worked on that car before, and it wasn't me, I promise. But I think that car may have